having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Okay, let's unpack this one. Major League Baseball was pretty rocked recently by a move that, well, it felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about the Boston Red Sox trading their star third baseman, Rafael Devers, over to the San Francisco Giants.
And it wasn't just who got traded. I mean, Devers is a huge name, obviously.
Right.
But it was the timing. This wasn't some deadline scramble. It happened Sunday, June 15th. That's, over 6 weeks before the deadline? It sent real shockwaves through the league.
Totally unexpected timing. And you, our listener, you've shared a whole stack of sources with us, articles, notes, research, really digging into this blockbuster. So our mission here in this deep dive is to pull out the most important pieces, the key insights from all this material you sent, to help you understand exactly what went down, why it happened, and what it means for both Boston and San Francisco.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So what does this all mean?
Well, the basic transaction, the core of it, is pretty straightforward. Rafael Devers, Boston's big, slugging third baseman, he's gone to San Francisco.
Simple enough on the surface.
Right.
But the return package Boston got back, that tells a much bigger story, doesn't it? About where they might be heading.
It really does. It was a multiplayer deal, and it looks like it was heavily focused on pitching and maybe one key offensive prospect.
Okay, so who did they get?
All right. The Red Sox got right-handed pitcher Jordan Hicks, left-handed pitcher Kyle Harrison, outfielder James Tibbs III, and the sources flag him as San Francisco's number 4 prospect, 13th overall pick just last year, 2024.
Tibbs, okay. High draft pick.
Yeah, and also right-handed relief prospect named Jose Bello, so a few arms and a bat.
Gotcha. Hicks, Harrison, Tibbs, Bello.
And this is huge, maybe the biggest piece of the whole thing.
The money?
The money, the financial side. The Giants took on the entirety of Devers' massive contract.
Wow.
That 10-year, $313.5 million deal he signed just before the 2023 season.
Yeah, I remember that.
The sources are really clear on this. San Francisco is now on the hook for over $250 million remaining on that deal, running through 2033.
Taking on $250 million for one player. That's a statement.
It absolutely is.
Which brings us to the big question, the one the sources really wrestle with. Why? Why would the Red Sox trade a fan favorite, arguably their best hitter, just starting year 2 of that enormous contract?
Especially because, as you look at the timing, like around June 17th when this went down, the Red Sox weren't, completely bottoming out.
Right. They weren't in full fire sale mode.
Yeah.
Their record was 38-36, 4th place in the AL East, but only 8.5 games back. Not amazing, but not, disastrous.
Exactly. So the official reason from Red Sox leadership, Craig Breslow, the CBO, and Sam Kennedy, the president CEO, it's fascinating. It all centered around this phrase, a lack of alignment with Devers.
Alignment?
Yeah, and also a desire for a new team culture, plus creating flexibility for their younger guys.
Okay, let's dig into that alignment thing, because the sources really hammer this point as the core issue. Where did it start?
Well, reportedly, it goes back to the offseason. After they brought in Alex Bregman, the Red Sox asked Devers to move from third base to be the full-time DH.
Ah, okay.
Now, he did accept it eventually, and honestly, the sources say he was raking as the DH, leading the team in homers, RBI, OBP when he got traded.
So production wasn't the issue at DH?
Not at all. But there was apparently some initial reluctance on his part to make that move.
Okay, so some friction there early on. Then what? Did it escalate?
It sounds like it really escalated in early May. Tristan Casas gets that season-ending injury.
Right. Brutal loss for them.
Yeah. And then Devers was approached again about moving positions, this time maybe to first base to help cover. And this, according to the sources, is where things really boiled over. Devers publicly refused. And not only refused, but actually criticized the front office publicly.
Ooh, okay. Public criticism, that often doesn't end well. Was that the point of no return based on what you read?
That seems to be the strong indication. Multiple sources describe that public defiance as the final straw. It just completely fractured the relationship.
Wow.
Insiders were quoted calling it an unsalvageable situation for both parties. And interestingly, some sources suggest Devers himself was ready for a change of scenery due to what he saw as mixed messaging and communication issues, even if he never formally put in a trade request.
So it wasn't just the team wanting him out. He might have been ready to go too.
It sounds like a mutual breakdown. Yeah, a really sour situation.
Not just a baseball move then, clearly. More about the relationship, the dynamic. I read there was even an attempt to smooth things over.
Yeah, principal owner John Henry apparently flew out to Kansas City back in May, right after Devers made those public comments.
Okay.
And Henry described that chat as productive at the time, but, well, obviously the underlying problems the sources point to, they didn't go away. The issues persisted.
Right. So that brings us back to Craig Breslow. How did he officially frame this huge decision, trading their star player?
Breslow called it a baseball trade. He said it was done for the best interests of the Red Sox on and off the field to win championships. Strong words.
On and off the field. That seems key.
Definitely echoes the alignment and culture stuff. He also stressed this commitment to ferociously and relentlessly pursue a culture that everyone buys into.
Okay.
And he made a really interesting admission. He acknowledged the team might not be better on paper right away.
Wow. Admitting that up front is something.
It is, but he argued it creates a more functional roster. And crucially, it opens up playing time for what he termed their premium positional young talents. Guys like Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer, Christian Campbell.
So clearing the DH spot, basically.
Clearing the DH spot, creating roster flexibility. He also mentioned it created resources to maybe address other team needs before the trade deadline. So future flexibility, too.
It's really interesting, that trade-off. Valuing functionality and culture potentially over the immediate massive talent of Devers, even with that contract. Based on these sources, it feels like a major takeaway is how much that perceived lack of alignment, that public spat, how much that drove this whole thing. Maybe even more than the stats or the money in the end.
It really seems that way.
Which it makes you wonder, and this is a question for you, the listener, how much weight do you give those things? Player front office relationships, culture fit.
Yeah.
How important are they compared to just pure, raw, on-field production? Especially when you're talking about a contract worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's a tough balance,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, so shifting from the why they did it to what they actually got back, let's look closer at that return package for Boston.
Right. You mentioned pitching depth and that one prospect.
Exactly. So Jordan Hicks, the righty, famous for the high velocity, right?
Oh, yeah. Throws gas.
The Giants had actually been trying him out as a starter, had a 1-5 record, ERA up there at 6.47 in 13 appearances. Looks like mostly starts.
Mixed results as a starter then.
Yeah. But the sources suggest the Red Sox plan is to move him back to the bullpen, use him as a dominant late-inning reliever, which arguably is where he's always been best.
Back to his strength.
Okay.
Makes sense. Who else?
Kyle Harrison, the lefty. He's been a pretty highly regarded prospect for a while.
I've heard his name.
He'd actually worked his way into the Giants' rotation late in May, had a 1-1 record, 4.56 ERA over about 23 innings in the majors this year before the trade.
Okay, so some big league experience recently.
Yes, but interestingly, the Red Sox immediately optioned him back to the minors.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, for more development time. Breslow expressed confidence, though, saying they think he can be a front-of-the-rotation guy eventually. His career ERA before the trade, over about 39 appearances, mostly starts, was 4.48. So still some polishing needed, maybe.
So Hicks for the bullpen now, Harrison maybe for the rotation later, and then the hitter, Tibbs.
James Tibbs III. Yep. The sources really highlight him. Giants' number 4 prospect, like we said, 13th pick in the 24 draft from Florida State.
Okay. What's the scouting report say?
Tools look good. Strong hit tool, rated a 50 on the 20/80 scale, which is MLB average. And his power is maybe even better, a 55 grade, so above average potential there.
Nice. And he hit in college?
Oh, yeah. His final season at FSU was monster, .363 average, .488 on base, .777 slugging, just huge numbers. He slides right in as Boston's number 6 prospect now.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a potentially exciting piece for the future.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
One more arm. Jose Bello, right-handed reliever, younger guy, 20 years old, signed with the Giants back in January 23.
Okay. more of a long-term project.
Seems like it. Posted good numbers in rookie ball, 2.97 ERA, strong strikeout-to-walk ratio. The view seems to be he's a potential up-and-down reliever, maybe contributes later this decade.
Okay, so Hicks for now, Harrison and Tibbs with high upside for later, Elo as a deeper prospect. How are people viewing this whole package? The sources must have opinions.
Oh, definitely the different perspectives. Some execs quoted in the material think it's actually a pretty solid return considering Boston got out from under that massive Devers contract. Shedding that much salary is a big factor.
Right, the financial relief angle.
Exactly. But for fans, especially fans who heard win now messages earlier or expected them to compete hard in 2025, it probably feels pretty tough.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're trading a proven superstar, your best hitter right now, for potential down the road. It definitely highlights that gap that can exist between how a front office calculates value and how fans experience a trade like this.
Yeah, that emotional impact versus the spreadsheet value. Okay, let's flip the coin. Let's talk about Devers' new team, the San Francisco Giants. For them, getting Devers, I mean, this feels like a crystal clear signal, right? They're going for it now.
Absolutely unambiguous. And look where they were when the trade happened, around June 17th.
Where were they?
Strong record, 41-29. That had them tied for first place in the NL West with the Dodgers. They are right in the thick of the pennant race.
Okay, so adding a bat like Devers makes a ton of sense from that perspective.
And it fits the recent pattern, too. The sources point out they've been really aggressive trying to land big fish. Well, they famously made a huge run at Aaron Judge before he went back to the Yankees.
Oh, yeah, I remember that chase.
And more recently, they spent big on free agents like Matt Chapman and Willie Adams. Devers is right in line with that aggressive approach, adding impact talent.
And what he brings is pretty obvious, right? A huge left-handed bat.
Yeah.
Immediate upgrade to that lineup.
Massive upgrade. They've needed that consistent middle-of-the-order power, especially from the left side. Devers provides exactly that.
What's his role likely to be? Still DH primarily.
Yeah, the expectation is he'll primarily be the designated hitter for the Giants. And a little footnote. He'll wear number 16.
Not his usual 11.
Nope. Number 11 is retired in San Francisco for the great Buster Posey.
Ah, makes sense. Good trivia. So financially, for the Giants, they take on the $250 million plus for Devers, but they already had other big deals, like Adams you mentioned.
Right. Adams got that 7-year, $182 million contract. So they're clearly comfortable making these huge financial commitments right now to boost the offense. It really underlines their priority. Win and win soon.
It's fascinating just thinking about how Devers' bat changes their lineup. That ability to hit for average, hit for power. It slots right in there and makes them instantly more dangerous, especially as they gear up for a playoff push.
No doubt. He lengthens that lineup significantly.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Broader implications for both teams here. For Boston, the Red Sox. This trade seems to signal a much clearer commitment to a youth movement, maybe even faster than expected.
Yeah, it definitely does. It opens up that DH spot, like Bresley said, for those young hitters coming up. And, shedding Devers' contract could free up significant financial flexibility down the road, maybe after some other current deals expire.
So Breslow's strategy, looking at the return in his comments, it really leans into building from within, trusting that farm system.
Seems that way. Guys like Anthony, Mayer, now Tibbs,
Uh-huh.
they're putting a lot of faith in that next wave. But they'll need them, and the pitchers they got back, to step up big time to compete in that brutal AL East.
But there's a flip side, right? The criticism. The sources mention this too.
Oh, yeah. Critics are definitely saying, how can you trade your homegrown franchise cornerstone, especially this early in his deal, and still claim you're trying to compete seriously in 2025?
Right. Seems contradictory.
And for a lot of fans, it probably brings back bad memories of other stars leaving, like Mookie Betts. It hits a nerve, for sure.
Yeah, that history matters. Okay, for the Giants, the implications seem simpler, maybe.
More straightforward, yeah. They are unequivocally in win-now mode.
Right.
Full stop. Devers makes their offense better immediately, addresses that need for consistent power, especially left-handed power.
And you add that bat to a pitching staff that's already pretty strong, right? With Logan Webb leading the way, and they brought in a veteran like Verlander, too.
Exactly. It complements what they already have on the pitching side.
But it does raise the big question for them, doesn't it? Can Devers plus Adams plus Chapman, can that offense score enough runs consistently to really challenge, say, the Dodgers?
Yeah.
And go deep in October, especially considering the massive financial bet they've just made.
That's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a huge gamble, putting so many chips on this current window, but the sources suggest they believe it's a gamble worth taking to chase a championship.
Looking at the really big picture here, trading a player like Devers, this young, this talented, so early into such a massive long-term deal, it's just rare. You don't see this happen very often in baseball.
It really stands out. And I think this deal, when you peel back the layers, it highlights so many things about modern baseball.
Like what?
The crazy economics, for one, the complexity of those long-term deals, but also the player front office dynamics, how crucial those relationships can be, even overriding pure performance sometimes.
The alignment factor again.
Exactly. And just that constant tightrope walk teams are on, trying to win right now versus building for sustained success over the long haul. It's a fascinating case study in all those pressures.
And the result is, well, the Red Sox and Giants are now clearly heading down very different roads because of this one trade.
Yep, divergent paths.
And the real impact. We're going to see that play out for the rest of this 2025 season, obviously. But honestly, for years and years to come, as these prospects develop or don't, and as those contracts play out.
Absolutely. It's a long-term story. Okay, so wrapping things up here. We've gone deep into the sources you shared on the Rafael Devers trade. We've looked at who was involved, the really surprising reasons Boston cited, that whole alignment breakdown, what they got back in terms of players, and what this huge move means for San Francisco trying to win right now.
So after digging through all these details, all these perspectives from the sources, what's the one thing that really stands out most to you about this whole situation?
And maybe here's a final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on, based on everything we've discussed today from these sources.
Okay.
Given all these complexities, we talked about the huge long-term contracts, the importance of player personality and relationships, the different team-building strategies, how sustainable really is that traditional idea of a franchise cornerstone player in today's baseball?
Interesting question.
Is navigating those relationships, managing those massive financial commitments, is that becoming just as critical for a team's success as the player's batting average or ERA?
A lot to think about there. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.